Hello, everyone. I'm George. As I was presented, I am the CEO and co-founder of Ethiak. Ethiak is what we do is autonomous ethical hacking. And I see that ebankIT left cybersecurity for the end. It's not a best practice to do that. I will try to not bore you a lot before launch, but let's see. I'm here today because we are working, ebankIT is a client, and we are working a lot for us to be clients, for us to be partners as well, so that I can bring continuous proactive security to all the partnership ecosystem. And I will tell you why this is important, right? Like my talk today will just be about the two choices that you have today. Or you hack yourself, or you get hacked. And this is how it is. So let's see a little bit more, okay? So my only goal here today is to convince you that continuous proactive security is the best investment that you can make in 2025. So you should bank it as soon as possible, and I hope I do a good job on that. There is 3 reasons for this is why this is important, right? Like the first one is compliance. Compliance is the boring thing, but it's the one that we in the financial industry we care more about, right? Like it's because we need to do stuff because we need to be compliant with. And let's see a bit about that later. Then we have resilience, and resilience, some people call it security. Honestly, I don't think we should call it security because you will never ever be secure, okay? That's a myth. Security doesn't exist. You can do everything as you can and still not be secure. So resilience is about getting the most of it. It's about like, how can you be the most secure even without being secure, right? And then the third reason why you should invest in cybersecurity is about differentiation. It's about you want to be different from the others. So let's go deep on that, okay? The first one is exactly compliance, right? Like, you will comply, okay? There's we cannot do anything about this. Like, compliance is getting real strict right now, and it's everywhere in Europe and all over the world. I can show you a lot of it, right? There is 2 types of compliance, right? One is regulation, the other one is certification. So regulation is you need to do it. We have NIS2, we have DORA, we have CRA in Europe. NIS2 is the new cybersecurity directive. DORA is for financial institutions, and then CRA is the new one on Cyber Resilience Act. And the idea here is every software in Europe produced or operating in Europe needs to do testing. And then we have the common certifications, ISO, SOC 2, PCI, and much more, right? I can borrow you with like all these directives, like NIS2 tells you that supply chain vulnerability identification is a priority. You have DORA, you have frameworks like ISO. So I'm just passing these slides for you to understand, like this is, I'm not making this up, right? Like this is one thing that is important. But I don't really care about compliance because you can comply whatever you want and you are not still secure. You are not still resilient, right? It's not enough. Compliance, for example, tells you that you just need to do 1 pen test a year, right? You do an audit. It can be even a bad audit. You can even put like someone and pay like that 2,000 euros, and they will say, they will run some scans and will say that you are secure. Are you? You are not, right? So compliance is not why I'm here. Compliance is just a checklist box. You just want to checklist it and show the world that you are compliant. Why I'm really curious about resilience. And the problem with resilience is you are going to be hacked, okay? You can do whatever you want, but you are going to still be hacked. It's not a matter if you are going to be hacked or not. It's about when you are going to be hacked, right? And that's the reason, right? Like I can show you a lot of stats, but 1 in 8 business today suffer a cyber attack with more than 6-digit loss every year. So 1 in 8 of you will be hacked this year with 6-digit loss, okay? That's the statistic, the biggest one. There is a lot more. But we know this already, right? Like, I'm not giving you any news for this. This is the normal stuff, right? But why this happens? Like, a lot of people try to complicate cybersecurity. You are going to talk about with vendors of cybersecurity, and they will sell you a lot of stuff. You are not going to even understand what you are buying, but you are buying it because you need to be compliant, right? But cyber risk, it's only an equation of 3 variables. Only that. You have assets, you have vulnerabilities, and you have threats. Think about this as a city. Your business is like a city. You have buildings. These buildings have windows and doors. And then you have people on the outside trying to enter your buildings, right? Just that. Assets are the buildings. Vulnerabilities are the open windows. And threats are the guys trying to enter. And if they enter, you have a risk. That's it. So it's only 3 variables that you need to worry about. Not so bad, right? But what you need to understand is, like, attackers have always an advantage, because attackers just need one open window to get in, right? This can be a software bug, this can be an API, this can be cloud misconfiguration, it can be whatever, the list goes on. Even humans. Humans are also a factor and will also open windows for you to be attacked, right? So it's quite simple, cybersecurity, cyber risk, right? To understand cyber risk. But what's happening today is that this is becoming exponential, right? Like, we have more assets, we have more vulnerabilities, we have more threats. And it's getting way worse, right? Let's see what's happening. First, we have more assets. Assets are like your technologies, are like your assets, like the things that allow you to grow your business, right? Like real estate. You need more buildings so that you can have more money, right? Like, that's how business works. But attack surfaces, what hackers like us call to the assets, are getting really complex and dynamic, right? Why? Because we have faster software life cycles. We are producing software every day. We are pushing software to production every single week. We have third parties. We have SaaS. We have APIs. We have tools. We have AI now. Everything, like, your attack surface is way bigger than you think, right? You have IoT on OT, maybe here not. You have multiple orgs, like ebankIT, right? Like, how many organizations you have, right? Like, all these organizations are part of your assets, are part of your attack surface. And all of them have different technologies. And then you have the shadow IT, which is the things that you don't even know that you have. Because someone in marketing just created a landing page and you don't know it. Someone, like a software engineer, put a server online or opened the door, and you don't even, like a port, and you don't even know it, right? So all the shadow IT is there. And statistics say that 30% of your attack surface is shadow IT. You don't know it. So how can you defend your attack surface without even knowing it, right? Then we have more vulnerabilities. And we have way more vulnerabilities, okay? Last year, there was 40,000 new CVs. What is a CV? I will explain you a little bit later, but it's common vulnerability and exposure. So these are only the vulnerabilities in known software, in known technologies. Vulnerabilities in Google, in Salesforce, in Amazon, wherever. It's not vulnerabilities in your specific systems, in Ethiak or ebankIT or whatever like it. No, because we are too small to be a CV, right? But 40,000 new CVs on 1 year. New CVs, that's more than 100 per day. How can we really think that we do a pen test tomorrow and we are protected? We are not, right? Every single day, there are 40,000 CVs, 100 CVs. This was put last week, so we are almost half, and we are not half of the year, right? Let's see. But we have more vulnerabilities, right? More open windows. Known. And then threats. Threats are faster than ever. They are more scalable than ever. They are more automated than ever. They are more democratized than ever. It's so easy for someone to take this knowledge, create a bot, and attack everyone in the internet. They don't even care who they are attacking. Some people tell me, oh, I am too small to be attacked. They don't know where they are attacking. They are just putting a bot and covering all the IPs that they can find, right? And before I show you that, let me just look at this, okay? This is from Mandiant last year. Maybe you have been sold that humans are the most risk factor in the organization. Maybe they were 2 years ago. Now, 38% of data breach start with vulnerability exploitations. They were technical vulnerabilities, not humans anymore, right? If you don't believe with me, check Verizon. Verizon says the same. We have vulnerabilities, it's 20% for them, not the 38, but it's more than phishing, and it's almost the same as credentials. But in 2022, when I started the company, they said, no, exploitation of vulnerabilities is the least factor. We were predicting this. Don't you think that this will go up? It will, because AI is here, technology doesn't stop, we are in the digital transformation. So technology vulnerabilities are the most risk factor for organizations today, okay? And they are doing things like this. See, this is the report of Cloudflare last year. There was a CVE, and we are going to talk about this in a second, but there is a new vulnerability that comes up. It's published on the internet. After 22 minutes, 22 minutes after this new CVE is published, they are being attacked in more than 1,000 servers, Cloudflare. 22 minutes, okay? This is how fast they are getting. But still, we are doing one pen test a year, right? So, I'm kind of a stoic person by nature, okay? So we focus on what we can control, right? So if we think about the variables of cyber risk, it's easy. If we want cyber risk down, what do we need to do? Okay, we can decrease assets, but do we really want to decrease assets? No, we want more assets because it will allow more business, right? Can we decrease threats? No, they are not decreasing. And you cannot control them. They are going to increase. So what can you control? You can control vulnerabilities. You should find these vulnerabilities. Can be technical vulnerabilities, can be human vulnerabilities, but they are still vulnerabilities in your business. And correct them, mitigate them as soon as you can. But what have you been done until today? How is cybersecurity sold to you? Cybersecurity is sold to you by defense. The only thing that they do is putting more walls, more firewalls, more antivirus, more SOCs, more whatever, to just increase your walls around your assets. They are not being preventive. They are not. They are being reactive. When I install alarm system in this room, am I being preventive? No. I'm just alarming if someone gets in. That's it. In physical world, that's great. The cops come in, maybe they get the guy. But in the digital world, good luck. After they get in, man, we are out, okay? So what should we do? Just find vulnerabilities. This is very easy, right? That's what we should focus, right? How can we do that? There is only one form of doing that, is to hack yourself. If you hack yourself first, you are not going to be hacked. Because hacking is the bad word of the century, right? But hacking is not that. The hacking word started in the Silicon Valley when, in the tech days, right? When hacking was, and that's why we use hackathons still, right? Like hacking was finding an impossible way of doing something that shouldn't be possible. That's it. It's creative people. We have bad hackers, we have good hackers. But hacking is not bad by itself, right? What you need to do is simple. It's like you need to recon. What is reconnaissance? Is to understand first your attack surface, every asset that you have, technical, humans, whatever. Then you need to test them. You need to test them often. You need to test your digital walls. You need to test your humans. You need to test everything in your organization, because that's the only way that you find these vulnerabilities, that you can prioritize them, that you can patch them, and then you should retest again. And that's the cycle. If you want to be preventive in cybersecurity, testing is the word of the day, okay? So how vulnerabilities appear? These are technical vulnerabilities, right? I told you that I was going to explain you this, right? I don't want to be a lot of time here, but this is just an explanation for you to go and to stay with it, right? It's very easy, right? Like someone finds a vulnerability, we are talking about technical vulnerabilities here. They start exploiting this vulnerability, there is an attack, and once this vulnerability comes up to public, it's published. If it's not published, it's a 0 day. What is a 0 day? 0 day is a cool word for a vulnerability that is unknown, right? So for example, a vulnerability in the Ethiak software, it will be unknown because it's not published anywhere, right? 0 day was before used only for cyber weapons. So the first 0 day in history was the 0 day found on nuclear machines or nuclear industry in Iran when they were trying to basically have nuclear weapons, and the Israel and the US were basically exploiting an unknown vulnerability in these guys so that they decelerated the uranium production, right? Like, or refinement, something like that. So this was the first public one. But after we know that, it becomes a CV, becomes a common vulnerability exposure. That's why there is 100 new ones. So they find it, they published, and then there is a patch available. What do you need to understand as executives of your companies? There is two most important variables, right? One is the MTTD. The MTTD is the mean time to detect. How much time do you need for that CV is published so you detect it? And then the second one is how much time do you need to remediate this vulnerability, right? And as I showed you, 22 minutes in Cloudflare to start being attacked, okay? So for you to find this vulnerability, you need to test, right? So if you want to really understand if you have a good cybersecurity, a preventive cybersecurity in your organization, this is the metrics that you should care, okay? First, the two basic ones, mean time to detect and mean time to remediate. For that, you need testing. I told you, we are talking about testing, we're talking about hacking. You need hacking, you need testing, so that you detect these vulnerabilities, and then you remediate that vulnerabilities with your team. Of course, you cannot, and maybe you are thinking about this, look, this guy thinks that I'm not remediating vulnerabilities. I have a backlog of vulnerabilities so big that I cannot remediate everything. That's okay. We need to prioritize it. We know this. It's impossible to remediate every vulnerability, but what you need to understand, and that's why this is important, right? You need to understand first what is the impact of these vulnerabilities. You should prioritize by impact. So if you're running scanners, if you have already some scanners in your organization, the first thing that you should ask yourself is, are the vulnerabilities that these guys are finding, even with pen testings, really important, really impactful, or they are just giving us noise, right? The second is accuracy. Are these vulnerabilities really exploitable in your organization, or they are just giving you, again, noise, okay? This is the test, and then you need to understand frequency, and frequency is the variable that I want to talk for you today. It's how many tests do you really run? You're running one per year, twice per year. If it's more, I'm really surprised with you. Coverage is like how many assets really do you know and they are being tested in your organization? Because I told you that 30% of our infrastructure is unknown by ourselves, okay? And the third one is because you are going to be asked, okay? This is the third reason why preventive cybersecurity is important, right? And this is the reason that is not usually talked about, right? And for me, it's differentiation, I told you. Why should you invest in proactive cybersecurity? Compliance, resilience, I told you, you need to be secure, and you need to look at what we talked about. And the third one, and that's why it's important now, why you should do it ASAP, it's because we are witnessing, déjà vu. And what does that mean? What we are witnessing is exactly the same that we witnessed 3 years ago with sustainability. When CO2 footprint was started to be talked about, what happened was that all the enterprises, all the organizations started to push this down throughout the supply chain, right? So who is the responsibility for you to be secure? So if this startup has an API for this enterprise, it's an open door. So how this enterprise will guarantee that this startup or is it secure? Is by doing two things right now, okay? That's what we are watching. The first thing is the most robust enterprise will test them, even without they knowing. They're using tools like Ethiak to do that, right? Like they are basically just testing every supplier that they have whenever they want. And they just need authorization in a contract to allow it. The other is they are going to ask the startup for evidence if they are really secure, right? When you buy an organization, you are always going to ask this evidence, right? How I see this is an amazing opportunity. Why are we not taking advantage of saying, okay, let's do testing and let's put that in our value proposition? Why don't we use security as a trust builder, a trust enablement, right? Like we are just, if we do testing more than the others, and we prove that we do it, and our competitor is not doing it, it's not a differentiation aspect right now. So that's the third one that I see, like, use cybersecurity as a way to differentiate in the supply chain, the digital supply chain that we are living now, okay? And that's the three reasons, right? Like, why continuous proactive security is the best investment, but what I want to understand now is how do we do it without spending our budget in IT and cybersecurity as well, and all our money as well, right? And that's why Ethiak comes in, right? Like what we are doing is continuous pen testing, okay? So the way that you should do it is you should use machine for running continuous testing, to always be testing your domains, your applications, your platforms, and then use humans on top of that. So don't do just one pen test a year. Have a machine and then a human enablement after that, right? And what we're doing at Ethiak is basically, we have a platform that do both, right? Like, so we are taking the knowledge. Every time that the human finds a vulnerability that the machine couldn't find, we are updating that knowledge. And what we are creating is a collaborative environment where everyone is protected by everyone, right? So if I find a vulnerability in client A using human knowledge, I'm passing it to the machine. The machine is now finding vulnerability in client B, right? And this is creating a collaborative security environment, which is very interesting for our almost 100 customers already, okay? So this is what I suggest to you, and how does that work? You should basically look at it as this. You want continuous testing, you want visibility in real time over your assets and vulnerabilities, you want to be as fast as you can, you want to detect vulnerabilities in minutes, you want accuracy, because you are not going to have time to triage every vulnerability. The problem nowadays with scanners is that scanners will give you around 40% of false positives, right? Because they cannot exploit your vulnerabilities. They are just surfacing. It's like the difference between scanning and pen testing, just for you know. I like to, it's a metaphor, like I like to say it like, scanner is like you are doing snorkeling, and pen testing you are putting an oxygen bottle in your bag and going there and understanding if it's real there or not, right? So you need both, right? But the problem with scanning is it will give you a lot of false positives and your team will not trust it. So what you need is, you need a tool that allows you to just alert you when the vulnerability is actually there and it's impactful. It really presents a risk to your business. Most of the vulnerabilities will not, right? Data scanners. And how does it work? It's very simple, right? Like what we do is we just need the domain of the company. We will find every subdomain, we'll find every portal, everywhere. We need authorization. Of course, we need the domain and authorization, and we'll find that. The tool will find that, find IPs, we'll find ports, we'll find technologies, and then vulnerabilities itself, right? Like, so you will have attack surface management and pen testing in the same platform, right? Why we are using it, or our clients are using it for different purposes, okay? But the main ones are here. One is because they want to discover all their assets. This is important for companies with multiple companies, like groups with multiple companies that have a lot of shadow IT. They are using for attack surface management to manage this attack surface, for identification of vulnerabilities, for testing, triaging, and retesting, even with external and internal assets. And this is the best one right now with the new norms of NIS2. It's to monitor third parties, right? Like, you don't want just to secure yourself, you want to understand if your suppliers are also secure or not. Then we have a lot of other things like IoT, CI/CD, and also the reporting, which is important, right? You also want these reports to give to the ones that care about reporting, executive boards, or even clients. And that's it, right? Like, what I wanted to tell you today, again, is exactly like, you need to bank proactive security as fast as you can, right? And you need to change your mindset for a defensive approach to a proactive approach. And you should do that fast, because things are changing, as I showed you. We don't need to invest more in defense, in walls. We need to test our technology, and we need to test it as continuous as we can, so that we know vulnerabilities before attackers. Time is not a game of intelligence anymore, it's a game of speed, okay? So, and you should do that because first, you want to be compliant, second, you want peace of mind for resilience, and then you want to be different from the rest. So if you like it, I'm there. I'm going to launch, so feel free to reach me out. And also we work with ebankIT, so let's work together, okay? Thank you so much.